Hello, Meoni here, and welcome back to another video for Final Fantasy XIV. This time we want to have a bit of a discussion and reactions to basically Sage, the new job coming in 6.0 Endwalker, and my insatiable hype for this, basically. So as soon as the showcase happened, my reactions to that were, I was on the edge of my seat, gasping, waiting to see what the healer would be. I knew there was going to be a healer. We had all predicted it, and Yoshi P said that it was time for a new healer. What we didn't expect was Sage, though. A lot of us expected Chemist or Chirurgeon, in my opinion, or something along those lines, or any kind of other sort of healer. But I don't think there's really anybody in the world that expected it to be basically floating what looked like syringe laser beams, like floating daggers flying around at the whim and control of the user. So that's exactly what Sage is. It looks exceptional, as you can see from this very small amount of footage we have to go off. And on top of that, we're also going to see Alphino throughout the storyline of Endwalker, the 6.0 expansion, actually be one of these sages, which is going to be really, really cool to see. And we've already seen how amazing their DPS looks in CG, and honestly, that full trailer is definitely worth watching. Please go and watch that before anything else. But the class showcase as well is really, really good. So basically the concept behind Sage then is that it heals and protects the party with barriers. So that's their main focus. When it comes to Endwalker, they're actually splitting up the way that healing works. So we're going to have barrier healers and pure healers. There's not going to be anything in between that going forward as far as we can tell. So barrier healers actually include Scholar and this new Sage. Astrologian is being reworked to become a pure healer alongside White Mage. So there's lots of people already speculating about that and seeing which is dead and saying Scholar rip here and Astrologian rip there. At the end of the day, we don't know anything yet. So it's a little bit too premature to say. What I will say though is from the footage I saw, I am definitely ready for a change. Because obviously, if you guys didn't know, I heal at endgame when we do Savage, so I do lean towards playing my White Mage. It is my go-to. It's what I started the game as, a Conjurer, and I will continue to be so far into the future. But I think it's time for me to play an expansion as a Sage, to have a bit of fun with that, because it looks exceptional. So the way it was so exciting to me is that they're using Ether to manipulate these things called new lifts. That's what they describe them as, NOULITHS, new lifts. And these new lifts are basically, as I said, sort of like syringe laser beams that heal and apply barriers to people that float around, and you can control them with sort of like a swish of the hand. That's what it looked like. And from all of the other art we've had since then, there's been two pieces of CG art, one of the Lalafell and one of the Viera, both of them using those new lifts and manipulating them to heal people and provide barriers. So this is going to be very interesting indeed going forth. The animation quality is exceptional from what we saw. It was on a whole new level, and the way that I like it the most is that it seems to be more than just glare spam and the occasional deer. Now, that's nothing personally too much against me playing White Mage, but this does look like quite a nice amount of damage coming out of, well, different variations of damage at least. There's a bit where the new lifts fly around the target and just make this like cross laser beam. That's kind of cool. And then there's another one where basically the new lifts are just striking it and like firing around at it. And then you've got the one where it's basically at the side of you, and they all sort of glow with runes, and you sort of release all of these lasers at the same time, kind of like magic missiles or something. So you've got all these 4 laser beams shooting out at once. Kind of cool. Really, really cool. And of course, in the actual footage, they demonstrate just some basic dungeon bosses. We've got a Dark Knight tanking as the healer applies barriers and laser beams the enemy to death. It definitely strikes me as well as the red mage of the healers, basically. That's the way I would describe it. It's definitely suave and sophisticated. There's a certain amount of style, especially in the end where basically you've got the victory pose and it spins around, and he kind of is one step away from a top hat, He's very close to being the red mage of the healers, in my opinion. Definitely not the sort of person who doesn't go for style. The other thing that really amazes me about this is the sheer capability for Glamour. Now, a lot of people are going to be like, wow, so you're not really excited about the class. I am. I think it's going to be exceptional. I can't wait to see what abilities it has. But think of the Glamour potential for those new lifts. So they're floating things that you swish around that you can strike at the enemy and create laser beams. Instantly, the ones that they've shown us look like Allergan ones. It kind of looks like this is going to be our artifact gear. Sort of very Allergan-esque, sort of almost Garlean tech. I would imagine this is Allergan tech more than Garlean. But think about it. If you were to introduce primal-related weaponry for the new lifts, you could have flying daggers. You could have, like, Sophia daggers. You could have Ifrit glowy fireball things, like fire spears. Basically, this reminds me of Gilgamesh from Fate, where, you know, you're opening the heavens and all of those swords and daggers and sharp things appear to strike at your enemy. It has that vibe behind it, like coil of Bahamut weapons. Now, of course, we don't know if they're going to actually, you know, go back and reverse engineer that content to have new lifts in it from the get-go, but you can be assured that any future new lifts they create, they could certainly make fiery versions of daggers that fly, or, you know, swords or spears or something, or, you know, it doesn't really matter as long as they have that sort of like laser potentiality. But it's magic, right? So basically anything could be a vessel for that. So the sheer potential of these weapons for Glamour is amazing. We have yet to see, like, fully how they look in all situations, but we do know the idle pose, as Alphino demonstrated, reminds me very much like Mercy standing there from Overwatch. There's lots of little hints here and there. The other thing that people have commented is the similarity to Gundam. Now, this is really interesting. I was reading quite a touching post how Meidi from Father of Light, Dad of Light, or whatever, Daddy of Light, whatever you want to call that show, who recently sadly passed away. That Meidi person was a good friend of Yoshi P's, and it was correspondence up until the point where they died. And Yoshi P actually talked about Gundam heavily with this person, and even asked Meidi to create a Gundam for him. And they had a great sort of relationship, and it was kind of touching. It was nice to see that reaction, and they obviously went and saw him before the whole COVID thing and had all that interaction. But it could even be the reason why we have this sort of Gundam approach, you know? It could be at the end of the day. I mean, it's a bit of a push, but that's kind of an even nicer way of thinking of this. So there's a lot of people going, well, why didn't they go for this? Why didn't they go for that? Why have we got floating, syringes, basically? What is this particular healer? I personally think it looks amazing. I was on the edge of my seat during the showcase, and when they showed this off, I was blown away. Absolutely blown away. One of the other things that we know is that they're able to augment their own abilities, so they have self-buffs. How that's going to work, who knows? Remember, every job has a job gauge at this point, so I'm thinking maybe it'll be similar to how the red mage gauge works. Maybe you're building up different types of heal to fill up a meter, to then augment other abilities, something like that. That could be quite a simple way of doing it. Yeah, I think most jobs work that way, but the red mage idea of the two vials would be cool. It's very similar. It has a lot of similarities at the core value of red mage, I think, in that kind of magic sort of way. And then you have the floating new lifts, so that means you could go any direction you wanted from there. But yeah, I'm pretty excited for this one, guys. It's not something I immediately would have expected from Endwalker, but it was such a pleasant surprise, it really was, and I can't wait to see more of this. And the concept art that they've shown in a little teaser trailer for the expansion, and then the little job preview, are exceptional, and Square Enix should be very proud of themselves for putting together something so lovely. And I can't wait, in fall of this year, we're going to get to play this bad boy. So yeah, fingers crossed, and if we get any more information at all, I'll be sure to cover it on here. But I needed to make a video of me gushing about this new job because I am excited. Let me know how excited you are, what you would have preferred as a job, And whether or not you're looking forward to that melee DPS, I'm personally calling Soul Reaper with a scythe as the direction of that melee. Let me know your concepts below and your predictions, and I'll see you all next time.